So today we're going deep into humanistic and existential therapy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and we're looking at this article.
Okay.
It's called What a Counselor and Psychotherapist Have to Learn
Hmm.
from the Multicultural Counseling Service blog.
I
And
see.
it really got me thinking about what makes these approaches unique, you know?
Well, one of the most interesting things to me is how much it emphasizes the therapist's own personal development. It's
Yeah.
not just about what's in the textbook. It's about actually living these principles that they're trying to help other people achieve.
I see. So, like, embody it, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So the article mentions that students have to actually go to
Oh, yeah.
50 therapy sessions themselves. 50. I mean, that's a lot.
It is.
What's the reason for that?
Well, it's about more than just understanding the techniques.
Okay.
It's really about developing self-awareness. So understanding your own biases and your own patterns, maybe even some blind spots that you haven't thought about before.
Right. Well,
kinda
you
like-
need to know it yourself first.
Yeah, you can't guide someone through a forest if you've never walked through it yourself.
Yeah. That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
So it's making sure that therapists are really walking the walk,
Yeah, totally.
not just talking the talk.
Yeah, for sure.
It makes you wonder, like, what would those 50 sessions uncover?
Right.
What
Yeah.
kind of personal growth?
Well, imagine like you're uncovering these parts of yourself.
Yeah.
The ones you don't even realize are influencing how you interact with people.
Yeah.
So peeling back those layers to really like be authentic with your clients,
I see.
Yeah.
So this seems pretty different from older approaches to therapy, like psychoanalysis or behaviorism.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Humanistic and existential therapy, they kind of came about as like this third force in reaction to those older, more deterministic views of human behavior.
So instead of focusing on the unconscious or conditioned responses,
Yeah.
what are these approaches focused on?
The individual's experience,
Oh, okay.
their ability to make their own choices and their search for meaning.
So like free will.
Yeah, like free will, personal responsibility,
Right.
and what it means to just be human.
Wow. That's a big shift.
It is.
And I can see why these approaches are, seen as empowering.
Yeah, definitely.
So where do we even begin with all this? Like, who are some of the main people?
Okay,
The
well,
pioneers.
on the humanistic side, we got to start with Maslow,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
With the hierarchy of needs.
Oh, yeah.
He thought we're all driven by this need to reach our full potential.
Right. He called it self-actualization.
Exactly. Self-actualization.
Yeah, I remember that pyramid from like Intro to Psych.
Yeah.
But how does that work in therapy?
Okay, so that's where Carl Rogers comes in. He's huge in the field. And he developed person-centered therapy,
Right. Yeah. PCT.
PCT. Yeah.
Okay.
His approach is all about creating the right conditions for people to grow.
I see.
So empathy,
Yeah.
unconditional positive regard,
Okay.
and congruence.
Those words sound familiar.
They do.
Can we break them down, though?
Yeah.
Like, what do they look like?
Okay, so picture a therapist who really gets you,
Yeah.
who listens without judging you,
Right.
and who is totally genuine in how they interact with you.
Okay.
That's the heart of PCT.
Gotcha.
It's about making a safe space
Yeah.
where the client can really explore their inner world without being afraid of criticism.
So it's not about the therapist being like, here's the answer.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's about the client figuring out their own solutions,
Yeah.
like their own path to healing and growing.
There's that empowerment again.
Exactly.
All about the client.
Right.
It reminds me of those sessions that Carl Rogers had with Gloria.
Oh, yeah.
Those are on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen them?
I have. They're like a masterclass in PCT.
Yeah.
You can really see him like embodying those core conditions.
Right.
Just letting her explore her feelings without any judgment.
It's amazing.
And it leads to some pretty powerful moments,
Yeah. Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, what would it feel like to be in that kind of environment?
Right.
To feel that kind of acceptance?
Totally.
It must be pretty powerful.
It is.
And that's what's so great about these approaches.
Yeah.
They tap into that potential that everybody has inside them
Yeah,
to heal and to grow.
absolutely, when the conditions are right.
Right.
Rogers was also really interested in this idea of the self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the article talks about how the self is made up of different parts. Can you explain that a bit more?
Okay, so he thought our self is made up of three things.
Okay.
Our self-image,
Okay.
so that's how we see ourselves, and then self-worth, which is like what we believe about ourselves, and then finally our ideal self,
Gotcha.
who we want to be.
So like self-image is that reflection.
Yeah, it's like looking in a mirror.
Right. And then self-worth is the value you put on yourself.
Exactly.
And the ideal self is like your goals or aspirations.
Yes, exactly. Like who you're striving to become.
And these all interact, right?
They're constantly interacting, yeah, and shaping our experiences.
This is reminding me of that Johari window thing.
Oh, yeah, the Johari window.
And their article.
It's a great tool
Yeah.
for understanding ourselves and how other people see us.
Yeah, like a window with 4 panes.
Yeah, that's it.
What were those panes again?
So one pane is stuff that both you and other people know about you,
Okay.
like your public self, right?
Right.
Another pane is stuff you know about yourself, but others don't.
Oh. Okay.
Your private thoughts and feelings.
Like secrets.
Yeah, kind of like secrets, exactly.
Yeah.
Then there's stuff that other people see in you that you might not realize, like your blind spots.
Oh, interesting.
And then finally, there's the unknown stuff, the potential.
Right, waiting to be discovered.
Right, exactly.
Wow, that's a really helpful visual.
Yeah.
It makes you realize there's a lot going on under the surface.
Oh, there's so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, both within ourselves and in how we relate to others.
And like in humanistic therapy,
Yeah.
exploring that Johari window can be really revealing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It can lead to more self-awareness
Right.
and more genuine relationships with other people.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
This has been such a great exploration of the humanistic approach.
it has.
But we still have existential therapy to talk about,
Right.
which goes into those really profound questions about what it means to be human.
It does.
But before we move on, there's one more piece of the humanistic side I want to touch on.
Okay.
This idea of actualizing tendency.
Yeah.
What exactly is that, and how does it fit in with everything else we've been talking about?
That's a great question, and it's a really key idea in humanistic psychology.
Okay.
Think of it like this inherent drive that all living things have
Okay.
to grow, to develop, and to become the best versions of themselves.
So it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving.
Exactly. It's about reaching your full potential, becoming who you're meant to be.
That's pretty inspiring.
It is.
But the article also mentions this thing called organismic process.
Right.
I'm not sure I understand how that fits in.
Okay, well, the organismic process is basically how that actualizing tendency shows up in our lives.
Okay.
It's the way our internal experiences, like our thoughts and feelings and needs,
Yeah.
interact with the outside world, with all the challenges and feedback we get from our environment.
So it's like this back and forth
Yeah.
between what's going on inside us and what's going on around us.
Exactly.
And that shapes who we become.
It does.
It kind of sounds like nature versus nurture, but with a twist.
You could say that, yeah.
But then there's another thing that can get in the way of that growth, right?
Right.
The article calls them conditions of worth. Those don't sound as good.
They don't, no.
What are they?
Well, they're these messages that we pick up, often when we're really young,
Okay.
about what makes us worthy of love and acceptance.
Oh, I see.
So think back to your childhood.
Okay.
Did you ever hear things like, be a good girl and I'll be proud of you? Or, if you get good grades, I'll love you more?
Yeah, I've heard stuff like that.
Yeah, and the problem is, those messages can start to define how we see ourselves.
Right, like you only deserve love if you do certain things.
Exactly, and that can lead us to hide parts of ourselves that don't fit those expectations.
It can really hold us back from being our true selves.
It can, and that's where therapy comes in,
Okay.
by creating a safe space
Yeah,
without judgment.
right.
Therapists can help clients explore those conditions of worth, challenge them, and eventually break free from them. It's all about reclaiming that inherent sense of worthiness
Right.
that we all have inside us, no matter what.
That ties back into that idea of empowerment we were talking about.
It does. It does.
Humanistic therapy is about helping people rediscover their actualizing tendency
Yes.
and remove those conditions of worth that are blocking their path.
It's about realizing that we have the power within ourselves to heal and grow.
Wow, this has been really eye-opening.
Yeah.
We've learned so much about the humanistic approach,
We have.
but we've only just touched on existential therapy,
We have.
which goes into those even bigger questions about life and meaning
Big questions, yeah.
and existence itself.
That's right.
So let's shift gears now and dive into the world of existentialism.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, let's go deep.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're getting into existential therapy.
Yeah, it's all about those big questions,
The big ones.
Yeah, the meaning of life, death, freedom, responsibility.
Right, the things that make us human. Exactly, the human condition.
It feels pretty intense.
It can be, yeah.
Where do we even start with all that?
Well, a good place to start is with Viktor Frankl.
Oh, yeah.
He was a psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration camps,
Right.
and his experiences there led him to develop logotherapy.
Logotherapy.
Yeah, which is an existential approach that's all about finding meaning in life,
Wow.
even when you're going through unbelievable suffering.
His book, Man's Search for Meaning, that's a classic.
It's incredible to
Yeah.
think that even in those horrible circumstances, he was able to find a deeper purpose.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it really shows how resilient the human spirit can be.
Right.
Frankel believed that no matter what happens to us, we always have the freedom to choose our attitude
Okay.
and to find meaning in those experiences.
So it's not about being a victim of your circumstances.
Not at all.
Yeah.
You can choose how you respond to them.
And find meaning even in the midst of suffering.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one of the core principles of existential therapy. Recognizing that we have a choice in how we interpret and respond to the tough stuff.
So it's about taking ownership even when things feel really chaotic or uncertain.
Yeah, exactly. You said it perfectly.
Wow, that's a powerful message.
It is. It's shifting from feeling helpless to feeling empowered,
Right.
even in those hard situations.
I like that.
Now, another important figure in existential therapy is Irvin Yalom.
Okay.
He's known for his work on the four givens of existence.
Givens. What are those?
Okay, so they're these fundamental realities that we all have to deal with.
Okay.
Death, freedom, isolation, and meaninglessness.
Whoa.
Yeah, Yalom thought it was really important to confront those head on.
Not avoid them.
Not avoid them, no.
Face them.
Face them, yeah, because he thought that's how you live an authentic and meaningful life.
Okay, let's break those down a bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
We talked about death and meaning, but what about freedom and isolation?
Okay, well, by freedom, Yalom means that we have this huge responsibility to make choices that shape our lives. We're not just products of our past or our environment.
So we have the power to choose our own path.
Exactly. We create our own destiny.
It sounds like a lot of responsibility.
It is, and it can be really anxiety-provoking.
Yeah, making choices can be scary.
For sure. Especially when it feels like a lot is riding on them.
That makes sense. And what about isolation?
So Yalom believed that deep down we're all alone.
Alone.
Well, he didn't mean that we can't connect with others,
Okay.
but that each of us experiences the world in our own unique way.
Yeah, I see.
And in the end, we face those big existential questions by ourselves.
It's liberating and terrifying at the same time.
You got it.
Like we have the power to create our own meaning.
Yeah,
But it's scary too,
it can be, yeah.
because there's so much freedom.
It's a lot to handle.
Right.
That's where existential therapy can really help.
Okay.
It gives you a way to explore all these complicated emotions
Right.
and find a way to live authentically.
Yeah, even with all that uncertainty.
Exactly, even when you're feeling existential angst.
So how does that work in therapy? What does an existential therapist actually do?
Well, it's different from some other therapies that are about reducing symptoms or changing behaviors.
Okay.
Existential therapy is more about exploring the client's inner world,
Okay.
their values, beliefs, and experiences.
Right.
It's about helping them find their own meaning and purpose in life.
So it's not about giving them answers or telling them what to do.
No, it's more about asking them thought-provoking questions,
Okay.
challenging their assumptions, and encouraging them to reflect on their own lives.
Gotcha. So they find their own answers.
Exactly. They create their own meaning.
It sounds empowering, even though the questions themselves might be a little unsettling.
Yeah, they can be, but that's part of the process.
I see.
Existential therapy doesn't try to avoid the uncomfortable truths about being human.
Oh.
It actually embraces them and uses them to help people grow and discover who they really are.
This is all so interesting.
It is. It is.
But I'm still trying to figure out how to actually live an existential life.
That's a great question.
Yeah, how do those concepts translate into actions?
Well, that's something we'll be looking at more closely in the last part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Stay
Yeah.
tuned.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So we've been talking about living an existential life.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around what that really means.
Well, it might seem like a really abstract idea,
Yeah.
but it's actually pretty down to earth.
Okay.
It's not about doing something huge or becoming a philosopher or anything like that.
Great.
It's more about making choices that line up with what you believe in
Okay.
and owning the life that you create.
So it's about being intentional,
Exactly, yeah.
not just going through life on autopilot.
Right. It's about being present in the moment,
Yeah.
understanding the choices you make,
Yeah.
and accepting that there's always going to be uncertainty.
Okay, that makes sense. But can you give some examples of what that might look like, in everyday life?
Sure. So let's say you're feeling stuck at your job.
Yeah.
And, it's draining your energy, and it doesn't really feel like it fits with your values.
Right.
An existential approach might encourage you to think about your options,
Okay.
figure out what really matters to you,
Yeah.
and make a change, even if it feels a bit scary.
So it's about having the courage to go after what feels right, even if it's not the easy path.
Exactly. It's about taking charge of your life and creating something that truly reflects who you are and what's important to you.
It sounds kind of like that actualizing tendency we were talking about with humanistic therapy,
It does, you're right.
that drive to become your best self.
Yeah, they both emphasize personal growth
Right.
and aligning your actions with your true self.
Another thing that stood out in the article was facing the fact that we're all going to die one day.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It's a heavy topic,
It is.
but I can see how it could be a source of motivation, too.
Absolutely. Existential therapy doesn't shy away from death. It actually encourages you to embrace the fact that life is precious,
Okay.
to appreciate every moment, and to make the most of the time you have.
It's like that saying, live each day like it's your last.
Yeah, kind of.
But maybe a little deeper than that.
Right? It's not about being reckless.
Yeah.
It's about making choices that reflect what truly matters to you,
Okay.
knowing that your time is limited.
This has been such a fascinating look at these two approaches to therapy.
Yeah, they're really powerful.
As we wrap up our deep dive,
Yeah.
what would you say are the most important things for listeners to take away from this, even if they're not thinking about going to therapy themselves?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that humanistic and existential therapy, they both give you a framework for understanding yourself
Okay.
and your place in the world.
Right.
They remind you that you have choices,
Yeah.
even when things are tough.
Okay.
You can choose how you respond to those ups and downs, and you can actively create meaning and purpose in your life.
It's like that idea of empowerment again.
It is.
We're not just along for the ride, we're in the driver's seat.
That's right. You have the power to shape your own destiny.
It's a really powerful message.
It is, and it's something that speaks to everyone.
Yeah. Whether you're in therapy or just trying to live a more meaningful life.
Exactly.
Wow, this deep dive has given me a lot to think about.
It's a lot to process. Yeah.
I bet our listeners are feeling the same way.
I hope so. And if you enjoyed this exploration,
Yeah.
we'd love for you to share your thoughts with us on social media.
Yeah, let us know what you're thinking.
We love connecting with our listeners.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those big questions,
Yeah.
and keep striving to live a life that's true to yourself.